All right, the mic is hot. What is your take this morning? I need your hot takes this morning. So a lot happened yesterday. We're going to dive right into this. We're actually going to postpone our discussion on funding mergers and acquisitions because by the end of today, we'll be talking bankruptcies, right? We're not going to be talking mergers and acquisitions. We're going to be talking who lost their job, and we're going to be talking about which companies can't pay their bills and which companies are laying off their entire staff, taking a huge L, and which investors are going to watch some of their money go to zero. That's what we'll be discussing by the end of 4:00 p.m. today. All right. So first and foremost, before we get to the craziness, you do have to know a few terms. All right. So I did allow you guys to unmute yourselves. Before we get to those terms, I'd love to hear if you were tracking yesterday, which if you weren't, you must live under a rock. And maybe if you live under that rock, you can store some oil under there. If you know what happened yesterday and today, then you would have laughed a little bit. If not, then it's time that you guys watch the news a little more while you're home with not much to do. So I will allow you guys to unmute yourself. What happened yesterday in terms of oil?
So the price of oil jumped to below zero. I think it peaked at an all-time low of -37 for the first time ever.
Yeah, so oil prices, so oil future prices for May dropped to an all-time low yesterday. The price went negative. So theoretically, if the price goes negative for oil, what does that mean? It's like negative interest rates, right? We've talked about interest rates. What is negative oil prices, Vincent? What the hell does that mean?
So I guess you get paid for taking oil.
Hell yeah, getting paid. So if you have somewhere to store oil, you can get paid to take their oil.
Or you can just like dump the oil somewhere and use the barrels and sell the barrels.
You at this point, do anything. If you have a swimming pool, they might pay you to store some oil. Right? So for everyone else, what does that mean? Yes, oil prices drop. So somebody else outside of Vincent, what does that mean for oil refineries? What does that mean for companies that store oil? What does that mean for companies, airlines or cruise liners? What does that mean for you at the gas pump? Anybody outside of Vincent? Adrian, I see you're unmuted. What do you got?
It means that producers would have to pay like traders to just get the oil off their hands.
Right. So here's my question then, Adrian, and I'll stick with you. Wouldn't you rather just stop production than pay someone to take your oil?
But how would it stop? I mean, because it's already produced, they just need somewhere to store it.
Okay, so you have oil that's already produced that you can't do anything with. So why are you pulling more out of the ground? Why not just stop pulling oil out of the ground? Anybody have any idea why? Anybody hear about why that is?
Saudi Arabia wants to punish Russia for leaving OPEC and not making the deal that Saudi Arabia wanted.
Okay, so you do have this big fight between the Saudis and Russia, which I think, now let's go conspiracy theory time, they coordinated to plan the downfall of the U.S. economy, but that's a whole other discussion. Let's get back to, would you rather shut down production? Now, here's why they're not. So you have an oversupply of oil. Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you not using oil anymore? Oil and gas. Where are you not using it anymore?
Planes.
Planes.
Planes, good. So 1, no planes. What else?
Cars.
No one's flying. Bars? Like drinking bars?
Cars. He said cars.
Oh,
No, he said
cars.
cars.
Cars, okay, cars. Well, hey, you know what? We can use bars also because bars are not open, which means you're no longer burning oil for heat. So bars also.
Yeah.
Stores,
Cars and restaurants.
movie theaters, restaurants, right? Cars, like you said, because I'm not driving every day all the way to Queens, right? I'm teaching you guys right here from the comfort of my home. I literally had a 10-second commute to work today. It was beautiful. So then you have cruise ships are no longer using it.
Manufacturing also dropped.
Manufacturing is down. So if Tesla's not making cars and Ford's not making cars, and you're not heating these huge buildings and offices, and you don't have millions of people driving to work, there is an oversupply or an over demand of oil. Which is it?
Oversupply.
Oversupply. Oversupply. We have way too much oil. So there's only a couple ways that you can fix that. You can stop producing oil. Show you a nice, pretty stop sign, which started out good. You can stop producing, or you can sell it at a lower rate. The reason why they're still producing is because the amount of money it takes to stop production and then restart production of these oil fields. Now, I don't know how this mathematically makes sense. I don't know the exact numbers, but I'll tell you what they're saying. What the experts are saying is that it makes more sense to stay in production and sell it, and pay people to take the oil than it is to stop production, then restart production in the future. So we will continue to have an oversupply of oil until what increases?
Demand.
Demand. Thank you, Newman. Until we find some demand. Now, I don't know if you guys have a swimming pool like I suggested. If you have some water bottles that you guys can take some oil for, I mean, that would help us out greatly. But until we get an actual uptick of demand, this is not stopping anytime soon. So that brings us to question number 2. Define elasticity and inelasticity, particularly in terms of price of demand. Does anybody have a paper definition you can give me? If you took macro, maybe you didn't get to this yet. If you did a Google search, it's probably confusing. But anybody want to give a jab at it?
Okay.
Is like when the demand of a good makes it changes the price because it's not essential. But then inelasticity is when the demand is constant because it's an essential good, so the price doesn't really change.
Okay, so I get what you're saying. So Chris, I'm going to stick with you since we got a new voice today. Hold on. Frank typed. All right, Frank told us what Investopedia says. Frank says a product is considered to be elastic if quantity of demand of the product changes drastically when prices change. So here's the deal. Do you think oil is elastic or inelastic? Chris?
Elastic.
I think it's elastic.
You guys think it's elastic? So
No.
Yeah.
I have a question. I'm going to take the under on that. So if you think it is elastic, everybody type a 1 in the chat window so I can count you out. 1, 2. 2 people. Where's the rest? Elastic, put a 1. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. I'm going to stop at 12. If you think it is inelastic, type a 2. Inelastic, type a 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to add myself 6. Brian Wong 7. All right, that puts us at 22 people. Okay, you would have to make your argument yourself. Here is, well, how about this? Can one of the 12s that say it's elastic give me an argument? And I'll let somebody make the inelastic argument. So can I get an elastic person? Who was elastic? Let me see. Katie? Richard? One of you guys willing to give us why you think it would be elastic? Don't all scream out at once. Miku, what do you think?
I think that it's elastic because if something goes, especially gas, if the price goes down a lot of people in New York go, even in today's world, even through quarantine, they still go outside, they still go hiking. So I think that this will just increase the amount of people that go outside and eventually increase the amount of people that get infected by the virus.
Okay, so I like that you brought up the virus also. So what you're saying, if gas prices are down, people are willing to go do more because gas is cheaper.
Yeah, because a lot of people, they don't have money right now, so they're trying to save as much as possible. So
Okay.
if gas prices are lower, they could do more things.
Sorry, I had to sneeze.
To add on to that, like gas isn't the only source of energy. So I know for like, for a direct consumer, let's say, like the changing price of gas won't hinder your ability to, purchase gas in the sense where if you have to get to work and you need to, get there and you need gas, you're still going to buy gas regardless of the price. But in terms of like let's say a nation, they would maybe purchase less oil and instead focus on different avenues of energy as opposed to oil based off of the price.
Now, that is true. People will start looking at other sources of energy. However, that's got nothing to do with price elasticity or inelasticity. In the context, we're going to talk about it right now. So let me get back to your elasticity statement that you and Miku had. Do I have an inelastic argument? Tony? Joe? Not Tony. Sorry, you were elastic. Aaron? Brian Wong?
I would say it's inelastic because the price stays relatively the same and it's dropping just because of the coronavirus now.
So the price stays the same, okay.
Because people use cars, planes, and boats on the regular, but it's just because of now the virus is causing it to drop.
Okay, so
And
how is
because
the
of
virus
overproduction,
how is the virus causing it to drop? What's changing?
no one's using as much gas.
Which means what's changing? Supply or demand?
Supply is going up because Saudi Arabia, and demand is going down.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. So I'm going to be in an inelastic crew, and I'll explain to you guys why. So the price elasticity of demand theoretically says that if price changes, demand changes, right? That would be elastic. It stretches, right? Things change. So if you change the price, you would change demand. Now, give me something you personally would buy if the price were to go down 50%. Shoes?
Luxury goods. Yeah,
Makeup.
luxury goods.
Luxury goods. What else? Bags?
Literally everything.
Literally everything, okay? Literally almost anything. However, what if I told you the price of your luxury goods went up 50%? Would you still buy it?
No.
Oh,
No.
No. So here's you would actually buy less of it, right? So it's got to go both ways. If prices go up or down drastically, if your demand changes, that means it's elastic. So I'll just draw a pretty little drawings for you because I like to do that. So if price goes up or down, your demand changes. Now, there's only so much I can drive. Does that make sense? There's only so many planes in the world. There's only so many cruise ships in the world. If you lower the price of oil, are more planes going to all of a sudden start flying?
No.
No. If you lower the price of oil, are you gonna take a cross-country trip when you still have to work 5 days a week? Probably
No.
not.
No.
So with that argument, oil is inelastic, similar to toilet paper. Most necessities are inelastic in the sense that if you raise those prices on eggs and oil, if you raise those prices on diapers, if you have a child, you are still going to buy the same amount. It is inelastic. The demand doesn't change. The demand does not stretch, right, like a rubber band if those prices go up. Well, that's the same concept if those prices go down. If you
So basically, the only reason that the price of oil is going up is because the supply is high, right?
well, right now the price of oil is going down.
I mean, yeah, that's right. So the price of oil is going down because the supply is high.
Yes, 100%. Supply, there's an oversupply and an under demand, which means, and not only is there oversupply and under demand, there's also nowhere to store it. So at least normally, if there's a supply and demand issue, Ashley, we have places to store oil. There are barrels and bins and huge tubs and like huge venues that store oil. The problem is there's a supply and demand shift. Yes, all the time. But now you have a supply and demand shift where there is literally no demand. So it's not like the normal variation of demand where like, oh, summer's here, there's a higher demand because people are flying and going on vacation. And oh, the winter's here, there's no demand because no one's going anywhere because it's cold. In this situation, there's literally no demand because no one's going anywhere and there's nowhere to store it. And you're still oversupplying the market. So where are oil prices going to go? Allow me to show you a chart. Whoops.
Oh.
So this is yesterday's chart of the day. Now, this is a beautiful, why am I not able to select? Okay, here we go. This is a beautiful chart to read. It's a terrible chart if you think oil is going up. This was oil prices back in 1987. Looking at $27 a barrel. All right. Then we're looking at 2002, $21 a barrel. 2010, $150 a barrel. All of a sudden, economic downturn, there's no demand, $40 a barrel. Economic recovery in 2012, $110, $120 a barrel. This is around the time where I really started following this stuff. All right. Then you go sideways for a bit, and 2017 comes. $24 a barrel, $60 a barrel, and where are we as of yesterday?
The negative 37, I believe.
Yeah, negative 37, and this morning we're about negative 55. Okay? Negative 55. So, I yesterday bought oil when it was probably close to down here. And it's down today again, like another 40%. So that investment probably, when I check my portfolio this morning, is going to look like this.
You have nothing to lose. I mean,
right. So,
it's down to 1 cent.
it could be a huge,
Contract.
you know, you can find some oil investments and see if you get a rebound over the next day or two. This has never been seen before in my entire life, in anyone's entire life. Since 1984, when I was born, you've never seen negative oil prices. This is the craziest thing I've ever experienced. And I'm laughing because I just told you guys in like January that you guys haven't lived through anything. Now you're living through a pandemic that shuts down the world and negative
Oil.
oil. Like you are now.
Howard jinxed it.
I jinxed it. I jinxed it. I jinxed it. I know I jinxed it. My wife told me I jinxed it yesterday. She goes, "Oh my God, I remember that conversation where you said you were going to tell them that they haven't lived through anything." She's like, "This is all your fault." I was like, "Thanks." And then what happened last night, just to compound all these issues, what happened last night politically? Anybody see what happened with Kim Jong-un?
Oh, his health.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
there's like lots of discrepancy amongst his health. Like in the United States, officials are saying that he's in critical condition, but South Korean officials are saying that he's fine.
Yep.
Someone described him as brain dead on.
Yeah, they said some people said that he was in a coma and brain dead following a procedure, and then there's people saying that it's fake. So it's a scary situation. Nobody knows, what's happening there either. So you have a lot of variables, and here's why it's scary. Although you might have political or social issues with North Korea in your lifetime, right? Probably the past 4 years where you guys have really been cognizant of what's happening in the world, there have been no issues with North Korea. They fire missiles time to time near Japan or past South Korea just to kind of flex a muscle. But between the U.S. and North Korea and Trump, you haven't really seen issues of the past that have given citizens the feeling of unrest, I think, if that makes sense. Now you have it because you have no idea what happens next if, God forbid, something happens to him. You ever hear the phrase, the crazy?
In a bad way or a good way?
No, I would say a bad way. Uncertainty. You guys know me. You guys know how animated I get. You know that I'm going to rip you if you guys act a certain way or do certain things. I have no problem, saying what's on my mind. However, what if I was taken out of the equation and you guys now had a new person coming in? The new person can be much worse. The new person can also be much better. But what are you fearful of more?
If it comes
The fact that you don't know.
Right.
The fact that you don't know.
The fact that you don't know that, like Vincent said, it could be worse. No one ever goes into this with, oh, great, this happened. Maybe we'll get somebody better. Nobody ever thinks that. You always think of the negative and you hope you're pleasantly surprised. So at this point, it is scary to look at what the global economy will look like if something does happen with North Korea. Because you've had a relationship that's been built over the past few years where, although rocky, wasn't scary for American citizens. Now you might get more instability in North Korea than you've had. So take oil, take the virus, take the shutdown of the economy, now take global political issues with North Korea, put them in a blender, and you have a reason not to buy stocks today. How'd I do? Anybody want to argue that statement? Anybody have a question? Oh, and add oil in there. Sorry, I forgot about that. Anybody?
Plus, also like no word on like how this is going to span out within like the next few months.
Well, do you know how it pans out? Can you give me a educated guess?
No, I'm saying that like no one really knows. Like the scientists don't really know. Politicians don't really know. So like that adds like another factor. Like, there's even schools talking about keeping schools closed, like colleges keeping colleges closed until like a few months after, like the next semester, not even the fall. So I think that's also another issue. Like no one really knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, but you know what? So I'm gonna side with you on something. You know what? There is no reason that colleges can't do what we're doing. There's no reason for people to go back.
Oh no, yeah, they are.
No,
They are, but like they're saying that for people. Oh, okay.
The next 12 months. The next 12 months, I see no reason you have to go to college. I see no reason.
Physically, right?
I think they should dramatically decrease your tuition, and they should do what we're doing. Now, no, in person, yes, there's a better feel for education and learning. But there is no way that I would consider it safe to go to college with thousands and thousands of other people, with parties and bars, everything. I would be nervous as an individual. Forget needing the college. I would be nervous to leave my dorm room. I'm nervous to go back to school in September because you don't know who's traveling where or who's going out or who. Now, luckily enough, I've had the virus already. So if I were to contract it again, it would be less severe, hopefully. But I can still pass it on to my father-in-law, who we take care of. So I can tell you guys, my wife and I have been trapped downstairs in the house. We don't go upstairs. When we go upstairs, we wear our masks, we wear gloves, and we bring bleach wipes. And we wipe down everything we touch. If that's what you're still doing because there's no vaccine, how can you guys go to school with thousands and hundreds and thousands of people converging in small areas? I just find it difficult. So I think at-home education is the best way to go, to be honest, for college students. Elementary and middle school is much more difficult. I still think that there's something that has to be done. But that is hard because you guys are adults. We can have these educated discussions about oil and about the stock market and about North Korea. We can have those conversations. What we can't do is get those kids that are like 4 years old to 12 years old and make sure they're fully paying attention. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happens here.
I think there's one stock you can buy. Amazon. They're still up.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Guys, listen,
Amazon's
up 1% today. There you go.
they're still up. I don't get it. The S&P 500 is down like 2%.
So is Shop. Shop is up 5%. Shopify.
Oh my god.
Yeah, craziness, man. Craziness. Okay, so we covered a lot that I wanted to cover in terms of the do now for position for oil. So what do you guys think happens next? Strictly oil based. What happens next?
We're gonna have to cut production somehow.
How do you cut production? What do you do? Like I really don't know, so I'm literally asking you guys. What are your thoughts?
I don't know. OPEC Plus has to go back to the conference table as well as many other oil producers.
So wait, you're saying, say it one more time?
I think they have to somehow agree on cutting production further. So you know how like OPEC Plus agreed to cut like 20 million barrels?
Yes.
They're gonna have to cut even more.
Okay. So do you think they'll cut more?
Depends on how Russia's feeling.
Don't you
That's very
think
true.
they're gonna try to sell to other countries?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully there's
No one
demand
wants it.
somewhere. Maybe
We don't have the infrastructure for that though.
Who doesn't?
To transport oil to other countries.
Well, do other countries need the oil?
Well, it's free. They might as well take it.
Yeah. Okay. So then, like you said, though, then do you have the infrastructure to store it?
Yeah, because like there's decreased amount of flights between country to country, as well as a decreased amounts of traffic, anyways.
I'd agree with you. I'd agree with all of you. Anybody else? What do you think happens next? What do you think happens to a lot of these oil companies? Do you think the government comes in and bails them out? Do you think we let them go bankrupt?
100%. No,
100%.
I think the government's going to step in 100% because with oil being such a huge commodity and it's something that governments naturally are, keep a huge eye on. I think they're definitely going to intervene in some way.
Okay. Anyone
Well,
else?
Trump has hinted on. I
Trump
think
just tweeted.
Oh my God. What do you say?
We will never let the great U.S. oil and gas industry down. I have
Oh.
instructed the Secretary of Energy and the Secretary
gonna
of
bail them
Treasury to
out.
formulate a plan.
Say that one more time.
Told you.
Read it one more time. Read it one more time. Let me see if I can find it.
We will never let the great U.S. oil and gas industry down. I have instructed the Secretary of Energy and the Secretary of Treasury to formulate a plan which will make funds available so that these very important companies and jobs will be secured long into the future.
That means a bailout.
No.
There it is. There it is. There's your tweet, guys. Tweet of the day. Mark it down.
Good morning, Mr. Murderer.
Good morning. Oh my goodness. All right, so
Oh.
Donald Trump 1 minute ago, we will not let oil and gas down. We have instructed, and oh my God. So how much money do you think they're going to print for them?
I think a
Unprecedented.
good casual 3 trillion would be a good amount.
Oh,
Yeah, unprecedented.
a casual 3 trillion.
Yeah.
All right, like a low key, like a smooth, they'll print Donald Trump's name on it. Yeah, not bad. I can see that. Well, that is all highly possible at this point, guys. So we will see what transpires. That's that for oil. So what we were supposed to do today was how do you fund an acquisition? Because you guys are going to start discussing and thinking about your assignment. Okay? So in terms of acquisition, right? A merger, you just combine all your information. A spinoff, you actually rip a small company out of you. It's like taking your arm off. So really all you guys have to worry about funding is an acquisition. There are 3 ways that you can successfully fund an acquisition. Can I get some guesses?
Wait, Amazon
Cash.
does it. Cash.
Cash, if you have cash, right? What else?
A leverage loan.
Buyout.
So you could take out loans. So you're talking leverage loans. All right. So you did say that. So you could use, it's called using debt. You can sell bonds to get funding, right? Or you can not sell bonds and get funding, and you can just take out loans to do it. Both are possible. Okay. There's one more way you can do it.
The seller financing fall under debt.
Say that again.
The seller financing fall under debt.
Seller finance. So financing would be what you just said. Financing would be debt. Yes.
Okay.
So if you were to finance it, you can use any form of debt, basically, is what we're discussing. All right.
Okay.
There's a third one. There's still a third one, guys. There's still a
Joint
third
venture.
Your own money.
Well, if you're a public company like Amazon and you're buying, let's say you're Apple, right? And you are a publicly traded company, you can use debt, you can use cash. And let's say you're buying, Apple's buying Disney. They can also tell Disney shareholders, we will give you equity. So for every 2 shares of Disney you have, we will give you 1 share of Apple. Does that make sense?
What is that called?
And that would be an equity. That would be using equity to purchase it. It's almost like going to Shark Tank and giving someone equity in the business. That's exactly what this is you'd be providing them with equity, and as a result, they give you their business. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Can you do a combination?
Yes. So that is a great question. You can do a combination of cash, debt, and equity. Yes, you can. 100% you can do that. All right. So when you guys do your assignment, okay, when you guys do your assignment, you guys are going to have to choose debt, equity, or cash, and then decide which is the best or best combination of a way to do it. Okay? Questions on that?
Yeah. No question.
Is it based on a specific company? Or?
Well, you're going to choose those companies. You guys are going to be the ones that choose the companies. So theoretically, depending on the businesses you choose, like I'll give you an example. Emory in Lux, and no one else in Lux can now do this. Emory wants to do Sirius XM buying Spotify.
What the?
So she's considering the best way for that to be done. Would it be cash, debt, or equity? So how much cash do they have? Could they do it in cash, right? And then debt, do they have too much debt? Or would they rather take on debt in order to accomplish this? Okay. Any specific questions on that? So if you were to look at the do now if you look at activity 1 for your assignment, due April 22nd, that's tomorrow. All right. It's asking you what's debt, what is equity. So equity is you give a percentage of your business to someone. Right? So if you're buying Disney as Apple can theoretically give Disney shareholders shares of Apple. That means Apple's giving Apple equity to these Disney shareholders. And that's how they purchase Disney, with stock. The other way is cash if you have cash. The other way is debt if you want to take on debt. You would have to do that research to see what is the best way to do this. Now, if you're doing an acquisition, okay, you have to know, are you doing debt, equity, or cash? If you're doing a spin-off, you'll have to tell me how much cash the new company has, right? Because now you're spinning off a business from a bigger business. If you're doing a merger, you would have to tell me all of the assets and liabilities the new business now has. Now, I will add that to the part 3. I will add that to this part about the presentation. Okay? That way it's a little bit easier for you guys. But all I need for tomorrow is make sure that you identify that you know cash, debt, and equity, that you know merger, spin-off, and acquisition, and then you guys can start thinking of the businesses you want to do this for. Okay? Does anybody have any ideas of what they want to do? You guys are you're required to share with me. So you're required to inform me on the companies you want to use, just so we can have that short discussion, similar to when you did your hypothesis for the previous assignment on corporate debt. All right, does anyone want to run one by me right now, for example, for the class?
Delta merges with American.
You said what?
Delta merges with American.
Is that what you want to do, or you're just giving an example?
Example.
Example, yeah. So 2 airlines merging, right? And then, so if you did
That'd
two
be so
airlines,
bad.
if you, that would be so bad. So if you did them merging, you would have to do all of these parts. So how would the transaction happen? Provide 3 reasons this is beneficial for growth and for the company. Then number 4 says the Department of Justice tries to block this. Explain to the Department of Justice why they should approve the merger and why it's good for consumers. Investors heard about your plans to merge and they start selling the stock. How would you convince them the stock will increase as a result of this merger? Okay. Now, Frank said Disney can spin off its TV pieces. That's possible also. So Disney actually just bought Hulu. They're probably not going to spin off Hulu. They just made Disney Plus. They probably won't spin off Disney Plus. You know, it would make sense for Disney to be theme parks and then a separate company to do movies. I just think they're so closely intertwined now, it would be difficult. So that's your job, though. Mergers, acquisitions, and spinoffs. Okay? So if you can get part 1 and 2 done within the next day or so, we will then be able to have that discussion on the actual presentation on Thursday. Okay? These are some meaningful and interesting mergers and acquisitions that you guys should know about. Facebook bought Instagram in 2014 for $19 billion. They bought WhatsApp for $22 billion. Google tried to sell itself in 1998 for $1 million to Yahoo. Yahoo said no. Yahoo said no. Microsoft bought LinkedIn for $28 billion in 2016. LinkedIn has still not earned them that money back. Verizon bought AOL for $4 billion. Verizon then bought Yahoo for $5 billion. So imagine if Yahoo had bought Google. Probably would have been a terrible thing. Yahoo probably would have driven Google into the ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. Google buys YouTube for $2 billion. Now YouTube generates about $4 billion, I think maybe $5 billion per year of profit. So you bought them for $2 billion, and now every year you earn $4 billion. Greatest investment ever. Apple buys Beats in 2015, which we've discussed, and PayPal is split off or spun off from eBay. I think that was like 2016, 2015. All right. So they were literally spun off into a brand new business in, and I can tell you when they IPO, 2015, July 10th, 2015. That's when they formed their own business. And they were at $34.69 a share. All right, so that was 2015. PayPal was spun off from eBay. All right. All right, so we discussed quite a bit. Oil charts are still crazy right now. Are there any questions yet? I'm waiting to go through activity 3 with you. I'm going to make a couple of tweaks to it once we get off of here. But as long as you guys come ready with your mergers, acquisition, and spin-off ideas, and as long as you guys come ready with your knowledge of spin-off acquisitions, mergers, and then cash, debt, and equity, I think we can have a very strong conversation about that in the next couple of days. Are there any questions about that assignment upcoming? Thursday, we will go significantly deeper into the part 3, which is your presentation. But it is self-explanatory if you guys want to take a peek at it later today once I update some of the content. Do message me today if you know what companies you want to use. First come, first serve. So if Vincent said he wants to do Amazon buying something, you know, Amazon buys, I don't know, Starbucks. Okay? Well, if that's going to happen, no one else can use that. Right? So it's first come, first serve. So once you know what you want to do, you got to reach out to me, okay?
Okay.
Copy.
All right, guys. It has been a pleasure. I will talk to you guys. Do you guys need me tomorrow? I'll be on here. Let's go 9:30 again tomorrow. I'll hop on here. And if you guys have questions, we can have questions. You guys want to talk about what's happening in the world, we can do that. If nobody shows up, nobody shows up. That's fine too. Okay?
Okay.
So I'll be here 9:30 if you guys are bored and would need a friend.
Okay.
All right, guys. Have a good day. I will post this video in a few minutes. I will see you guys tomorrow 9:30. Adios.